This is the question which I pose to all the pseudo-economists and Gift Mugano who want us to believe that the US dollar is the all and everything. Where is your negative aspect coming from? Iwe Mugano. Yako eri kubva kupi? Ndo zviri kutaurwa neIMF, shasha dzepasi pano dzeeconomy. Iwe Mugano kwako zvako zvauri kutaura izvo. Uri kumbozviwanepi kunze kwekuti une unhubu chete mumusoro mako? Yes. Good morning, gentlemen of the press. Thanking you for all coming. And secondly, for giving full play to the keynote addresses of President E.D. Mnangagwa, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, and the First Secretary of the ruling party, ZANU-PF, and the shepherd of the permanent Zimbabwe revolution. We have had quite an eventful week of meetings of the party last week, starting with the Politburo, and then following up with the Central Committee. There were momentous events. First of all, there was the declaration of national disaster to cope with the El Nino-induced drought, which has seen a near 80% devastation of our yield this season, including the failure of the crop in the most reliable bastions of food production in the country, which is Mashonaland West, Mashonaland Central, Mashonaland East, and other areas where we always normally rely for our food crop. This is an unprecedented drought, probably the worst in 4 decades. So clearly, it's an indication that climate change is afoot, because whilst we were suffering drought within Zimbabwe, our friend Mozambique was going through floods. You saw Maputo even seeing cars being washed away from the streets. So this is unprecedented, like I say, and the president saw it fit to rise to the occasion by declaring a national disaster. The good thing, or the positive thing, or the point of relief about this current drought is that the economy is in much good stead to cope with this eventuality than at any other time in the history of the Republic. And this is courtesy of the economic reforms and the fiscal reforms, the economic and financial reforms, and the investment policies of the Second Republic, which has shifted the economy away from the sole reliability on agriculture, and the vagaries of the weather, to a much more robust economy where mining is increasingly playing an important role. The beauty about mining is that it relies on age-old resources and new investments. Come weather, come hail, come sunshine, mining does not respond to those. It's a durable, it's a perennial, it's a long-term, much more reliable source of economic activity for the country. So it hedges us out of the vagaries of the weather, which depend on the season. So I want to thank and to highlight and thank the President for his mining policies, which are attracting some of the most intrepid, enterprising capital in the global boardrooms of the world to come to Zimbabwe. And once you have that kind of money, you insulate your economy. You can realize that with the industrialization that America and later and Europe area got, their vulnerability to the weather in terms of the viability of their populations, of the survival of their populations, decreased. So it is good, and you can now understand why it is important to pursue Vision 2030 according to the President's economic policy, because we want an economy which is modern, which is much more insulated from the vagaries of periodic or changes in climate, but also which takes full advantage of the complementing sectors of our economy, all of them. So we are much better placed as a country to deal with the drought. And by declaring the national drought, he is calling upon the national resources to come in to the rescue of our rural population. And also, he is calling upon people of goodwill across the world, countries, nations, and the United Nations system to come into the rescue. We are not the only one. Zambia is facing similar circumstances, and I think Malawi to a certain extent. So it's a sub-regional problem, because this El Nino has been stuck right in the middle of Mashonaland West, the Mashonaland province, which are our bread basket. This was the job. This was the ecological center of El Nino this year, right in those key provinces of Zimbabwe, which are responsible for food production. So we are hit hard at where it matters most, which is the food producing regions of Zimbabwe. So we are calling upon the president is going to mobilize all the national resources to the tune of $2 billion to make sure that nobody dies of hunger in rural areas in particular, but also in the vulnerable urban areas. We are going full scale to ensure that no Zimbabwean dies of hunger. And I want to remind you that when ZANU-PF says it goes full scale, it means it. Organization is in the DNA of ZANU-PF. We fought a war against odds, organizing one-time indigent rural people. Vanhu vaingofudza mombe vachitandanisa mhashu kumamisha. We organized them into a force which overcame one of the foremost imperial powers of this world. Takatora vanhu vokwaRuzeva and we galvanized them. So this is how we have survived as a party. It's through our history of organization. Organization is within the DNA of ZANU-PF. We pride ourselves on this continent that we are the most structured and organized society on the African continent. You don't win wars like that unless you get organized. So we are marshalling that organization to fight against El Nino drought, the worst in 40 years. And we have pedigree. I told you about the war. I told you before about how we educated the whole population of this country. When we were the third last born on the continent, we were the foremost educated population on the continent, ahead of all other countries which were independent earlier on. That speaks volumes about the organizational capability of ZANU-PF. How we've withstood sanctions for 2 decades, financial exclusion by the Americans, to be where we are still standing 2 decades later, defying Chester Crocker, who says, I will divorce ZANU-PF from the Zimbabwe people through screaming the economy. We have survived. That speaks volumes of our organization, about how we fought COVID when there was ghoulish gleefulness, gleefulness, that with COVID, Zimbabwe will suffer most because it will be the last in queue in terms of support from the Western countries. We surprised the world. We came up tops, and the UN ranked us top in terms of the countries which were able to withstand COVID better than any other. That speaks volumes about the organizational capability of Zimbabwe. And it is this organizational capability which we are putting into play to make sure that we again score a major victory in the fight against the El Nino-induced drought. We will make sure that the president's call that no Zimbabwean will die of hunger is actually realized. We are not only is he mobilizing internal resources, 2 billion, but is reaching out to our diaspora, who has always been very supportive of the home economy. We are reaching out to NGOs, which means they will be part of this effort, those of goodwill. And we are also reaching out to the United Nations system to use its global experience to help us tweak whatever we may be doing at home to make sure that nobody goes hungry. We are also appealing to nations of goodwill, those who have always wanted Zimbabwe to succeed, and those who see hunger as a common fight to come and help our efforts. So with this holistic approach, we are very much confident that the fight against famine, against hunger, let alone famine, will be successful. The government is fighting at 3 levels. It is making sure that the government machinery, the machinery of governance, the administrative capacity of government is focused and redirected and focused to address this issue. So the whole governance structure from the provincial levels to the district levels to the ward levels, all of it is going to be alerted to be vigilant to make sure that people don't die of hunger. We previously focused on households. This time we have gone further down the ladder. We are focusing on individuals. The calculations have been done. We need about 7 kilograms, I think, of food per month, per individual to survive. We will make sure that that is available. And as months come later and there's a bigger requirement, we will raise that level of food production maybe to 11 to 12. Calculations have been done. And this will be at individual level, not at household level. We want to make sure that nobody in the village, nobody in the ward goes hungry. So the government system are agri-tax officers, the district administrative officers, the social welfare system of governance, all those relevant government departments, they are now being told to focus, because this deficit is starting at the most difficult period of deprivation, which is this month, from about January, February to April. And it gets worse as we go into the year, because these months, normally people would have been relying on other sources of food on their own because of the rains, but this year it is not happening. So we are kicking in the system much earlier than we normally would have done because of the desperate situation of this drought. We are going further. We have said the system of governance is being tweaked. We also are going to use our party, the ruling party, because I told you DNA is in our organization. The whole political structure of the party is being told, that's why we had a central committee meeting yesterday the whole day, to go and be on the lookout so that we superintend this system by providing information to the central government about any areas where there may be deficits or where there may be discrepancies from our governance system. So the government bureaucrats be aware that the party will be superintending people at village level to make sure that people don't starve. And if you are a government bureaucrat, you get lax in your assignment, don't be surprised if the system picks you out, because we don't want our people to starve as a party. We are determined to make sure that we win this war the way we won the education one, the way we won the COVID one. So there are three aspects, which is the government at macro level, appealing, using its resources and appealing to everybody of goodwill to come to our help. That is the marshalling the resources to fight El Nino. Then the application of those resources, which is happening through the government machinery, which is being told to actually make sure that they go up to the individual level to make sure that there's no starvation. Then there is the added aspect of political supervision by the ruling party. We are making our structures make sure that everybody delivers to expectation. So with this holistic system, we think we will conquer and emerge from El Nino very strong. Beyond that, the government is using the experience of winter wheat, winter agriculture now, and the irrigation and Mvudza, to make sure that the deficit which we have got from lack of rain-fed agriculture is replaced by irrigation-produced crops. So we are going full out to make sure that our winter crop season is as successful as can be. If we, in the last 3 years, could come from a situation of wheat deficit to where we go to 460,000 tons, now we want to even scale to bigger heights. And you know that wheat is higher value, and the productivity of wheat in winter is higher than that of maize in winter. So we will be making sure that our wheat stocks are higher, and if need be, we can use wheat in exchange for maize, which is our staple. And you know that wheat has got a higher value per ton than maize. And our winter season makes the production of wheat be more lucrative than the production of maize as a staple. So there will be a deliberate bias by the government to make sure that all dams are as much of the dams as possible are fully utilized. So a lot of investment will go to center pivots, a lot of investment will go to drip irrigation in this season to make sure, and in those areas which are warmer, where we can produce maize, like in the Lowveld, you know, the yields of Zimbabwe's sugar are the highest in the world in the Lowveld. So we can do it. We will make sure that we produce winter maize on a scale which we have never done before. It is a pleasing thing that with our young people who are very educated, who love their country, they are embracing new forms of agriculture in an exciting way. Isn't it pleasing that when you go to a drip irrigation store in urban areas, there are so many cars queuing, you think you are at a chicken inn. People are buying agricultural equipment, and most of it is drip irrigation. So these are high yields coming from educated young people who are seeing farming as an exciting new field of endeavor, this is higher yield. So all in all, this adds to the robustness of this economy to withstand the vagaries of rain-fed agriculture. And this is what the president has done, the president to the Republic, to make young people love the idea of cropping. And you can see the way, the quality of the fruits which are coming, the berries, the quality of the flowers which are coming. Zimbabwe is coming back in a big way in the horticulture industry and in the fruit industry, courtesy of this new excitement about agriculture, and also the return and engagement of our white population under the policies of collective effort into agriculture, you know, the contracts which are being given by the Minister of Agriculture. So all in all, we are marshalling our different capacities which the country has garnered over the years to make sure that our agricultural sector is vibrant. So this is the reason why I said we are in a much better state this time, to overcome the vagaries of this El Nino drought than at any other time in history. And I want to thank the President of the Republic. He didn't predict El Nino. It's a probable thing, but it has happened, and it is now putting to the test what he has been talking about all along, that we can withstand its vagaries and save our population. He didn't intend that, but we will rise to the occasion, courtesy of what the Second Republic and President E.D. Mnangagwa has done. So nobody will die of hunger is his call, and everything will be done to ensure that the word of the President comes down to the actual saving of every Zimbabwean life during this difficult period of El Nino. I am thinking I am done with that aspect. We were deliberating all those things as the Central Committee the whole day, you know, before Saturday, the whole day Saturday. The other exciting thing which I'm calling you for is the introduction of the ZiG as the new currency of Zimbabwe. We had the occasion where the new Reserve Bank Governor, Dr. Mshayawan, and a seasoned banker of many years, came before the nation to announce the arrival or the launch of a new currency, the ZiG. To underscore the support of the ZiG by gold, and I'll go to that, the President made sure that he took a tour of our gold vaults to demonstrate to the general Zimbabwe public that the thing, the structured currency we are bringing, which is based upon gold, the gold is actually there. I want to take you a little bit, you are young, but this is a true story. Sometime in 2014, I believe, we were at a ZANU-PF conference in Chinhoyi. The former president of the First Republic comes out before the membership of the party, 6,000 to 7,000. He says, we had our gold reserves. Then the Americans imposed sanctions. Then we were short of US dollars. As we were short of US dollars, our Reserve Bank governor then, I won't mention the name, these days I'm not mentioning names. Our Reserve Bank governor then engaged outsiders with excess of US dollars in the Arab world. They sell oil. So they sell oil in US dollars, which is what supports what is called the petrodollar. So they said, we can give you US dollars to the governor, who went back to his principal, but on condition that you back it, you support it with your gold. So it was agreed that we exchange our gold reserves then for US dollars. But the transaction to be complete, the Arabs demanded or requested that the gold move from our own vaults outside of the country to where they can see the gold themselves, which our former governor duly obliged. The story gets murky after that, according to the former president. The gold reserves are gone, the US dollars don't come,